Diary of an S&M Romance by Dollie Llama and ThornDaddy, a Podiobooks.com presentation.
Diary of an S&M Romance frankly discusses consensual sadomasochistic sex and is intended for an adult audience. If you are not of legal age, please leave now and come back when you are of legal age.
If you are of legal age, but listening to informative sexual content in the privacy of your own home is not permitted in your community, you should not listen to this audiobook, and you should also immediately move to a hipper community. Episode 1. Chapter 1. Why I Do This. I'm sure some people will wonder why a woman who has her life together and has relatively healthy self-esteem could want her lover to dominate her, whip her on the ass until he leaves welts, and call her daddy's dirty little cum toilet. Well, I do, and I love it. Why? I don't know. 'Cause it's fun? Really, that's about as far as my routine analysis of the whole thing goes anymore. Now, I'm more likely to wonder why something we tried, and like Mae West, I'll try anything, at least twice, made me feel bad. Mostly because it doesn't happen often, and once I've figured out why I didn't dig it, I attempt to overcome the negativity and find the bliss in it. I've always loved sex. I first masturbated to orgasm when I was 7. I didn't even know what sex was yet, but found intense pleasure from lying in the tub with the water stream playing between my legs. Later, I was the unrepentant slut in high school and carried it through to adulthood. I was married, to a non-kinky man, for a spell, and faithful, but between his alcoholism and my dissatisfaction, it was doomed. After the marriage ended, I was alone for a long time, by choice, then began to explore kinky web communities, and eventually I started going to dungeons that held bondage parties. But a few years ago, when I was new to all this, my desires brought on some serious soul-searching. Why did pain transform me? How could surrender feel so right? What was it about an apparent insult that elevated me? Was I crazy? I suppose these submissive tendencies are not exactly new in me. I look back now and see much of my past with a clearer view. When I was a little girl playing with dolls, Barbie always seemed to be getting into tight spots with Ken or G.I. Joe. I can't recall just what I thought was going on. I was precocious, but can't swear it was actually sexually motivated play. Yet somehow the male dolls, action figures, inevitably controlled Barbie, physically overpowered her, and it just seemed right. I have vivid memories of one play session with the son of a family friend that involved Barbie and G.I. Joe getting naked and rolling around in mud. Barbie ended up on the bottom with Joe forcing her face into the muck. Cartoons. Quintessential childhood memory. Remember the nauseatingly upright and uptight Mountie, Dudley Do-Right? His nemesis, Snidely Whiplash, what a great name, and Dudley's gal, Nell Fenwick? Nell and other anonymous girls were often bound and left on railroad tracks in the great northern wilderness of Canada by the evil Snidely. Snidely struck a chord in me. I found him infinitely more intriguing than the do-gooder Mountie, and dreamt of how it would feel to be restrained, helpless, and abandoned, somehow knowing Snidely would be lurking unseen, rubbing his hands and twirling his mustache in glee at my distress. Dudley, saving the day, disappointed me in ways I could not decipher. And don't get me started on Boris Badenov and Natasha Fatal. Their very names evoke dominance and submission. They were a dirty switch BDSM couple from hell. Or Russia, which was considered hell in my Cold War youth. I even liked I Dream of Jeannie a little too much. Something was very wrong, and in a very right way, about this show being pumped into America's homes. It seemed way too cool, sultry, exotic wench in harem clothing waiting on and serving a man in uniform. And calling him master. I loved it. I wanted to be Jeannie. Like many curious kids, my friends and I would sneak copies of Playboy from father's or older brother's caches, eager to peer into the world of adult sexuality. One such foray yielded something spellbinding. My best girlfriend's brother had a magazine, a combination of stories and pictures, all centering on rape and kidnap fantasies. One story told of a woman taken by a group of men to a remote cabin and repeatedly gang-raped. She was bound, humiliated, and tortured. I remember being appalled and immensely aroused by the photos of her tied to a chair as the men crowded around her, tweaking her bare breasts and slapping her tear-streaked face. The pictures were graphic. I had never seen true hardcore pornography before. These were my first views of erect cocks, penetration, and cum shots, not to mention sexual domination. Although my girlfriend had to explain what cum shots were, she had secretly observed her brother beating off and had a greater understanding than I of how these things worked. Once I understood, the idea fixed itself in my brain. To this day, I have an all-encompassing fetish for semen. My girlfriend was a bit put off by my obsession with this stuff and expressed her feelings of disgust. I couldn't shake off how I felt, though, and continually asked her to bring that one magazine out when she stole into her brother's stash. All my fun came to an end when her brother came home unexpectedly and caught us with his treasures. I think he went looking for something to read and found his favorites missing. He yelled at us, threatening and angry, and swore us to secrecy. My friend was so cowed by his rage she would never again sneak into his things, and I had to be content with my memories, which fueled my fantasies until I began having real-life experiences. Why I love being Daddy's little whip-me dolly and cum toilet. Pain. Most people go out of their way to avoid it. I'm not so different. I jump around when I drop something on my foot. I hate paper cuts, and headaches make me crazy. I suffer from migraines, and trust me, I find no joy in them. But the quality of pain I experience in a scene is not the same. Oh, it's every bit as intense, usually more so. But I love it. I crave it. It's not a random act of the universe. It's a thoughtfully and lovingly applied sensation that awakens me to a consciousness and awareness I cannot find any other way. It strips away the layers of thought and responsibility and leaves me a creature composed of nothing but feeling, existing only in the moment. In short, it frees me. How often has your vanilla lovemaking been disrupted or diminished by concerns of things outside the bedroom? When I'm playing with sensations, there's no room in my head for anything else. Pain, at least in a disciplinary sense, was not a component of my childhood experiences. My father was not inclined to spank me. In fact, I can recall him doing so only once, and it was far from traumatic, though my cat attacked him for doing it. Conversely, it was not a turn-on. But the first time I saw real whipping is tattooed on my brain, it horrified me and, much to my discomposure, aroused me tremendously. Diary of an S&M Romance by Dollie Llama and ThornDaddy. Text of book, copyright Peep Press, 2006-2007.
MP3 file covered by Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivative Works License 2.5.
Paperback book available from Amazon.com and smdiary.com. That's smdiary.com.
And check out our free and filthy podcast, Submission and Coffee, at www.askdollie.com. That's ASKDOLLIE.com. You can also contact us there if you'd like. Say goodbye to the internet, baby.
Goodbye, Internet.